nice indeed.
Woohoo!
What a lovely vibe I feel like we've set up this time. I've said this before. I think the nighttime ones are. I think the vibe is there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels like a cozier.
I know what you
You know,
mean.
you're just on like you're on a friend's couch and you're just talking.
Yeah.
We're just talking.
I get that too. It's cozy, isn't it? It's something about doing them of an evening that's a bit more like, I don't know.
The twilight.
It's just quieter and.
Maybe you're a bit more reflexive because the day's coming to an end. So
you're reflective.
No, reflexive, like a mirror.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't think reflexive is a word, hon.
Reflexive? Well, what's a reflexive surface?
Reflective.
Reflective.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling quite reflective. I'm not feeling reflexive.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Reflective.
Yeah, reflective.
So you've got reflective and reflected.
Yeah.
But not reflexive.
Yeah.
So what's a reflex? If I cough, or if I sneeze.
That's a reflex, and then if you do something, is it reflexive?
Like if I put my arm up like that, if someone goes to hit me.
Yeah.
Is that reflexive?
I think that's reflexive.
Oh,
yeah.
Great. Okay.
Oh yeah, sorry, it is a word then.
Oh,
yeah.
Brilliant. Oh, that's really brilliant.
Or is it? Oh, now you've got me thinking. I don't even know if reflexive is it. It doesn't sound like a word the more I'm saying it.
Sounds like a word. You know what I remember when I was a bit younger, and even now I make words up like you've just seen. I'll say things like reflexive. And I remember people would come down on me hard and people would say like, that's not a word, or like, that's the wrong word, or like, that doesn't make any sense. And I think I always had this thing where it was like, language, it's like, it's you use it to communicate, don't you? So like if I say reflexive, you know what that means, and I know what that means.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a way of, whenever you say like, that's not right, that's not correct, that's not how you would say that.
Yeah.
I always have a bit of a, not gripe, because I understand that there's like, you can't say like, I'm freezing if you're burning up, like that doesn't, but like, unless you're being ironic. But that's what I mean. There's loads of these little, like little like nuances and playful things that you can do with language. And
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And I've never liked that thing of being like, no, that's wrong, or like, oh, that's not a word. Like there was a song. Remember, I think there was a song in Lemonade.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a line in that which is like, I'm not afraid to proclamate.
Yeah.
And that's not a word.
Do you mean proclaim?
Proclaim.
Yeah.
But if I say I'm not afraid to proclamate.
Did you write, when you were writing that?
Yeah.
Did you think that was a word?
Yeah.
Though?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. But before we get into wordplay, a word.
Should we say a few words about Bean?
A few words about our fantastic local coffee shop, Bean.
What coffee did you get from Bean today?
Well, I've been on the Americanos now for a while.
You have,
We started off as latte people.
Yeah.
And now we're just on Americanos with the tiniest splash of oat milk.
That's right, and it was 2 hot ones today because apparently it's cold now.
Ready for the.
It was quite chilly on the way back from the gym, so yeah, we both got a hot Americano.
Yep.
Which was lovely.
Very nice.
And we did the big shop. With our coffees.
Yeah.
But
it's always a pleasure to go in there. I don't think I've missed a day. Literally.
Yeah, when I do have to miss a day, I'm always disappointed because nowhere feels quite the same.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And if you want to check them out, you can go and download a free app, which they have, which is their loyalty app, which you can find in our description. And you can download it for free, and it's basically just like a loyalty card, and you get to rack up your points, get some free coffee. Everyone's a winner. Yeah,
I think you get a free coffee for signing up, and you get every 10th coffee free, or it's like a point system.
It's not bad.
So it's pretty cool, and it means you never forget your card. That's cool.
Never forget your card, and they're independent to Liverpool. They've got a few shops in Liverpool, so it's great to support local. And yeah, thanks, Bean. Really appreciate it.
Ooh, hazelnut latte?
No, it's hazelnut cappuccino. Actually, yeah. Oh, sorry, I nearly spilled this hot coffee all over you.
Yeah, good thing you didn't. Love that. So it's advice hour.
It's advice hour. The Twilight advice hour.
And we actually got asked some advice in person just last night, wasn't it? It was last night.
Yeah, we were out and we were
on a wild night out.
And we were drinking non-alcoholic beer.
We
How
actually
crazy
had a
is that?
non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah.
Which felt really cool. It felt really nice to enjoy a crisp, cold.
We should have had one now.
Do you want one now?
But it's too late.
That
we'd have to get up and move and
You could jump over that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one.
Oh, cold
We're
one.
alcoholics.
But it's great because it's actually what's the brand?
It's the 0.0 Peroni.
So there's a lot of alcohols out there that say that they're alcohol free, but they contain 0.05, which is it's still alcohol. There's still trace alcohol in there, and it's still got to be processed by the liver, so it's still toxic, to the body.
I wonder what is even in the 0.0.
Well, it's literally I don't know, but there's no alcohol.
But yeah.
But I still felt drunk afterwards. Because it's definitely placebo. But
yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
But it was nice, wasn't it? So sorry, I cut off. We were out.
It was nice.
Drinking some beers.
We had a couple of brewskis. Chatted to a couple of mates, and one mate of ours asked us about some advice about something in particular. So we thought we'd use this episode to go into some of the ideas and stuff that we were talking about very briefly last night.
Yeah.
And sort of go into a bit more depth and maybe just dive in about what the crux of it all is and things like that.
Yeah. So we were out. We were sat talking, and this person asked us a question that was, and it was nice because, it was someone else that had said they'd been listening to the podcast, but they asked.
No, it was them. They'd said, "Oh, what's the next podcast about?" So that was
oh right.
nice.
Oh yeah. Oh that's. Oh yeah. That's right. But then there was another person who was also saying that they listened to our recent one, which was really nice. About when you're on different wavelengths to people.
Oh,
so that was really nice. But yeah, they asked basically like, how do you when you have so many interests, and especially when I think you get in your late 20s, early 30s. I mean, 40s, 50s really. I mean, whatever. But the time of your life when you have lots of interests, or you have lots of hobbies that you'd like to pursue, but you also there's a very real, there's a reality where you have to also work and pay your rent and support yourself and be thinking about big picture stuff like, mortgages and repaying loans and taxes and kids and stuff. So how do you do that? And we started to talk about it a little bit, and we didn't really get too much into it, but we thought it would be a good opportunity to talk about this now.
Yeah, I do think it's a good one, because I do think that it's what so much in life comes down to, of like what you spend your time doing, and so many people don't spend enough time like doing what they actually enjoy. Do you know what I mean? Like just as a blanket statement, like you ask someone what they really enjoy, and then they think about it and they go, I really enjoy doing this. And it's like, okay, when was the last time you did that? Or what do you do in your day to day or week to week that like, like nurtures that and enjoys it? And it's like, oh, yeah, I don't get to do it a lot because of all the things that you just said. And it is quite sad because, like, that's what your life comes down to, isn't it? It's like your life is just made up of all of your days and your weeks and your months. And if you're not making time, or you can't find time for the things that you enjoy, what's at the end? It's such a tough one, but it was such a good question, because it's kind of like, it's amazing to have things that you enjoy, and it's amazing to have so many interests and to have so many passions or pursuits of things that you find interesting that you want to do. Like, that's great. And then I guess then it's like, it's a bit of a luxury to like think about, well, which ones do you want to put time into, which ones do you want to try and pursue. Like, that's an amazing luxury to have. And then it's like, and then we were talking about how it's trying to find that like balance, isn't it, of something that supports you and financially supports you and things like that, that also brings something to your life, and then But then do you have hobbies that you don't make money from but you just enjoy them, or do you try and turn them into your job?
Yeah,
It's a tough
definitely.
one. Do you think that people should have things that they really enjoy, and do you think it's a good idea to try and turn them into a way of making money, or do you think that there are some things
No,
that are
yeah,
best?
yeah. That's a really good question, and
Yeah.
I think I think maybe at the center of it, it's like you have to do something. You have to find something which is going to fill the majority of your time that you do get paid, because that's the essentially that's one of the big building blocks of our
Mm.
society, isn't it? If you want an apartment or a flat and move out and you want some level of responsibility and
Mm.
freedom,
Yeah.
ironically, you need to make money. So I feel like you've got to make sure that the thing that you're doing for those 8, 9, 10 hours a day is something that you do. If you can't enjoy it, then there's
Mm.
you really you're building your house on a sandy land. I was at a wedding recently, so lots of hymns are in my head right now.
Sandyland.
Don't build your house on a sandy
I've
land.
never heard
Don't
that.
build it too near the shore. Well, it might look kind of nice. You'll have to build it twice.
Oh, that's
Yes.
clever,
You got
yeah.
to build your house upon a rock. Anyway,
Jesus.
I think it was Bon Jovi. Um, yeah, so it's like you just, I feel like you're setting yourself up there in a bad.
Yeah.
So you do have to have that thing. You have to find something which is like, yeah, you enjoy it
Hmm.
and you get catharsis from it, and it's something that it's like, yeah, it's fulfilling,
Yeah.
but fulfilling for the right reasons. It fulfills
Yeah.
you inside,
It's not
not
just fulfilling your
the paycheck.
pockets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but then it's like you said with balance. It's like, yeah, I think that it's really key that you have some things that are just for you and they're just for fun, and the things
Mm.
like I remember a couple of months back, I remember when I was starting I was gonna stream,
Yeah, that's what I
because
was thinking of actually, yeah.
yeah, because
That came to mind.
I've always loved video games, especially retro ones and retro horror games, and indie developer studios and things like that. I've always loved that, and I thought, oh well, I'll stream because that's what people do now. And then the minute you remember, it took me weeks to
Yeah.
figure it all out and get
Yeah,
it
it
set up.
seemed so complicated
Yeah,
to figure it all out.
how it was, and
I
then
remember at one point I felt so much for you that you were
yeah,
struggling. I was like Googling like forums. I was like, please, my
yeah,
boyfriend
I
needs
know.
help. Like I was like gonna pay
Oh,
someone like
honey,
£20 an hour to be
oh,
like
I
a
know.
personal like,
Oh, that's so sweet.
guru with it all. It's like she just needs to
I
stream.
know.
She wants to stream Resi.
I was trying to. I was hustling everywhere to try and get an answer for that.
You were.
But then did it like 2 or 3 times, and I was like, now it's just not fun.
Yeah.
I'm not kicking back. This isn't a thing of where I'm having to put on a bit of a show and be mindful that there's a camera on me, and that wasn't a good outlet for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Interesting.
so there's just, yeah,
'Cause I
so
do think you'd be so good at that because, you're naturally just quite funny and entertaining and,
mm,
do you think maybe it was because the process was so frustrating that when you finally got to
maybe,
it, it
yeah.
was like, oh God, like, you know.
Well, you know what I feel a good lesson that I've learned is that, like, I feel as if that I have a lot of creative spirit and a lot of creative juice, and I always think to myself, like, I feel like I'm the kind of guy who has the temperament that if I really sat down and I really tried, I could, like, I probably could be a streamer, or I probably could, like, write a short novel, or I
Mm,
could I could do things that are creative. I feel like I slip into that mindset very easily, but
yeah.
then it's like a thing of stumbling across the comedy thing. It's like, well, doing the comedy takes a lot of time. Like the
Yeah.
filming takes a lot of
The planning.
the planning, the editing, which is a big thing
Yeah.
that you don't see, but it's hours and hours and hours. I think to myself, it's like that's where so much of my time is being dictated to.
Yeah.
And if I was like, okay, we'll split that up, and now have half of it to where you're streaming, and you're
Yeah.
not editing or filming or thinking of a
Yeah.
concept that could be fun, I'd be chopping like half of my enjoyment time in half to pursue. It's like that thing of like pursue half-assing two things and
I
pursuing,
see, yeah.
like, and that might change. It might get to a point where
Mm.
in the future that changes. But right now, I really like the balance I've got for planning these comedy sketches and trying to come up with something funny, and editing those and writing those and trying to I'm planning them, and trying to get people in the right room, in the same room and stuff.
Yeah, which is difficult.
Yeah, it's got its challenges. The finished product then that I get at the end of the week of seeing those videos, it's like, yeah, this is great, and if I continue doing this, I'll have like 52 videos in a year.
Yeah.
And I'll have and that's for me, but it's like I'm building that thing up for me. But then in my downtime, when it's 9-10 o'clock, I don't then think, oh well, I should stream for a few hours. It's I might just kick back and play a video game for fun.
Yeah.
And just have it to wind down, and that's for me, and there's no camera.
Yeah.
And and because recently you've started playing a video game, which has been great, because you've not played.
All I'm thinking about all day.
It really
day.
is
At the
taking
minute,
hold.
It's like not like taking hold, like I'm thinking about it in like a serious way or anything, or I'm like just counting down the hours. But
yeah,
I wake up and it's like, we're in bed, we're snuggling, it's lovely, and then we come in here and meditate, and then we go to the gym.
Yeah.
All the while, every now and then, my little brain, there's a little voice, and it says like, "Oh, you get to play your game later."
Yeah.
Like,
oh, that's great.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I love that.
You can like, not like, oh, get through the day and then you can like play your game, because I've had lots of things. There are many parts of my day that I'm like, well, every part of my day I look forward to, really. There's no part that I'm like, oh, just gotta get through this thing and I don't like it, which is great. But then it's just like a little sprinkling of like some sherbet, and it's like, oh, you've got your game later as well. Yeah. Like, well, that's how cool.
Yeah, and that's great, and I feel as if that comes down to the whole balance thing, where and that's a really good. It's kind of like a skill, because you realise that if you were to come back in after the gym and put your game on, there'd be and there'd be something inside you, right, that where you'd be like,
it's wrong.
I've got stuff. I need to do that stuff before I do this.
But it's not even like, see, that doesn't even enter my brain to do that. It's not like, oh, what I'd love to do right now. Okay, maybe a small part of me sometimes, especially when the weather's grim. I'm just like, oh,
light a
nice.
candle.
Get a candle.
Yeah, come and play a
Get
game.
on the sofa, get a couple little snacks,
little cup of tea,
snackies, and then just play your game. There might be a tiny voice of that, but it's only a hypothetical thing.
Sure.
Because really, it's like, oh, but I'll have like 3 or 4 things I need to get done. I'll have like, today I had some orders to pack, I had to post them, and then I've had to start restocking some stuff, some earrings that I've like not got many pairs left of for a busy like weekend ahead.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, cheers. And I was looking forward to that, because I've not really sat and done that in a bit, and it's always nice. And I got some new colours, and I just got to sit at my desk listening to like a podcast, doing it, and that was great. And then you made some lovely tea. So it's not like, because people, when they like really don't like what they do for a job, they're just like waiting until something, like they're waiting until their dinner, they're waiting until their break, or they're waiting until, and I've been there and had this for sure. Most jobs that I've been at, you kind of like, you see yourself on the road, and then you're like, oh, where's my dinner? So okay, 2:00, and then you're just sort of waiting, and it's like, oh, I've got my dinner at 2, and then you get 30 minutes, an hour, depending on how long your shift is, to like, chill. I'd usually probably just sit on my phone, get something to eat from like, McDonald's or something outside, and then you kind of clock watching again, just sort of getting through till your shift finishes.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of do that, and then I've got a day off on Wednesday, or I'm off at the weekend, and you'll really look forward to that. And I get it. It's like, it's good to have, because we always say, don't we? It's like, yeah, but you grow through the challenge, and you can, it's like your future self like thanking you for things that you do now, and it's like, but it's knowing when that's like healthy, and when that's like, you just sort of like wishing your life away, like wishing your time away, if 80% of your time is spent waiting for the 20%. So I don't think I have that. I think I'm like really, really enjoying 95%, and then every now and then there's 5%. It's like, oh, It's like, what's that, the guy, and he's like, sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
I don't know.
You're not seeing him. He's
No.
like on an interview. It's meant to be dead professional,
Yeah.
and he just doesn't know what to say. And he's like, sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
You know, though, I guess, but the person that we was talking to made a good point about, like, you know, but for some people that's not. I'm going to articulate this a bit more, like, you know, but I think the point that we're getting at was, like, some people they're already embedded into that routine,
Yeah.
and they have responsibility, and
Of
it's not
course.
always as you know, clear cut as being like, well, you know, quit the job and you know,
No.
just stop doing what you're doing and go and reassess. And also I think maybe sometimes people, you know, I'm reminded of a conversation I had recently with a mate, and it's that idea of like, you do the job, and it's you maybe come to the realization it's like, well, I don't really have anything else going on, or I don't feel as if that I'm that person that has other things going on outside of my. There might be little things here and there, but the majority of the thing that you do is the job,
Yeah.
which you could say is the same for us, but then it's that thing about
Yeah, you could totally use that same argument. Yeah, when I do think about it, most of my life like revolves around my work, but
it's but the challenges
yeah.
that you face and the things that you overcome, the thing in that situation is, and what would be the same for anyone else that was sort of betting on themselves or going down their own, pursuing their own thing, would be that, you know, that's all for you,
It
and
is.
you get to overcome those challenges, and you sort of take it's, you know, that's stock in your arsenal for you.
Yeah.
Whereas like the idea of like, not saying that if you're in a workplace or you're in a you know, you're in a sort of a typical conventional style job, but there's going to be loads of conflicts that you have to navigate, which
yeah.
we probably
And
won't ever have to.
skills to learn, and
Yeah, definitely.
also, you know, I think that I think if you've got the right attitude, you can come away from any job or anything learning something and having
Yeah.
some decent.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Yeah, but I guess maybe that's the thing, isn't it? Of like enjoyment. I think enjoyment is the word that I'm latching on to. You know, like,
Enjoyment.
oh, do you just genuinely enjoy it? And you're like, well, no, but I enjoy these other things, and I get time to do them at the weekend.
Do you think it's also problematic that if you're one of these people that, let's say, you don't really enjoy your 80% and you really put stock in your 20%? So, you know, it's like, yeah, you wait, you know, you're watching for the clock. It's 5 o'clock, you're out of there. You know, you're at home. That's your time.
Yeah.
The weekend comes about, you've got a hobby.
Yeah.
You love that hobby, so you pursue the hobby at 110.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I just, you know,
I'm in heaven.
wish I was doing this all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and then
see, that makes me so sad to think about that. Like,
but not everyone. Some people's hobby, people might love golf. They might love it. They might love nothing more than getting out on the green and early in the morning, and, you know, they're hitting a few balls, they're loving it. And then it's like, well, the very small fraction of people
a pro golfer.
yeah, and there's people there that are like, you know, incredible, but they
don't get paid for it.
No, they won't get paid for it.
No.
So what do they do? You know.
I think so let's take that one. So say you're a person, and
say you're a person and not an alien.
say you're a human being and not alien Romulus. And you have got a Monday to Friday, like, corporate job, whatever, undisclosed corporate job. You know, you've got a mortgage, you might have a kid, but they're like kind of growing up a bit, and a partner, or you're alone. And you like you say, you love golf, like you like watch the golf on your break, you're watching it of an evening, you're practicing, you're on Wii golf, and then you're at real golf on the weekend. But it's like, and then you're just, oh, I wish I could be out here all the time. It's not necessarily about you wish you were out there all the time, because it's kind of like if you're eating a cheeseburger and you might go, oh, I wish I could eat this all the time. Because I love cheeseburgers, but I don't wish I was eating them all the time, because I'd feel like shit. Do you know what I mean? But I really relish it when I'm doing it. But then when I'm eating my normal meals, what we eat Monday to Saturday, you know, our eggs, our chicken, or this or that, I'm also loving them.
You couldn't think of two more.
Eggs and chicken. It's all my brain thinks about. Eggs, chicken, and the stray cat game. But like I'm also loving my normal thing. So if this person is in their job and it just sucks the soul out of them. It is either so boring or it is so taxing and stressful.
Yeah.
And it's like if it's not leading to anything, if it's only causing them pain and anguish, but then they love getting on the golf course, something needs to change, I think. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I know.
It doesn't mean that the guy or woman or anybody needs to be on the green 24/7, and that's on the green. It needs to be on the green 24/7. Like, it's not. I don't think it's necessarily about that, because like, I don't love sitting and like sanding and buffing hundreds of charms at my desk for earrings. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't love it, but it's like it's part of a bigger picture of what I do, and it's just a part of it that
it's a labour of love.
It's a labour of love. It's kind of tedious, and it doesn't fill me with joy. And when you have the challenges of stuff of business like that doesn't go well, I don't enjoy that, but like no one does. So maybe it's like, even if the job then is still affording you your lifestyle, but even if it affords you a bit more free time, so the job could be something less, like rather than doing something full-time that stresses you out for loads of money, if actually what you really love is just golf, you could probably get a job that, you maybe make a few sacrifices in your life, and you get a job that's a bit less pay for a bit less hours and a bit less stress, so that then your 80% isn't filled with stress and anguish.
Okay, but let's say this person has a mortgage and
that's what I mean. You've got to, you reap what you sow. If you've set up this thing and you've got all these responsibilities and all these outgoings, you need to reflect on it and be like, what can I pull back on?
Well, this is and I think this is the thing that our friend was, I think this is what they were getting at a little bit. We were only talking about it for 5 minutes.
It was super brief, but we're just clutching at straws.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak for this person, but but I think that's what they were getting at. It was this idea of like, there might be people there that have mortgages and kids, and I can think of someone who has that exact life, and you can't you can't just stop doing that, because then if it's like you've got a child and you have so then it's difficult, because then if someone genuinely did come like that and they were like, what advice do you have for me? I'm not sure on the advice that I'd be able to give them, because it's everything that I would say would be like, well, you can't do that, like you can't because you have a child, so you need to be able to provide for the child, and and that's a really difficult thing, because there does come a time where, especially if you're having kids,
children, isn't it, when they really do come first.
Because that's the thing with a property, it's like, I mean, even with a property, there must be something there where it's like, you can't make your mortgage repayments, so it's like, okay, well, the house gets repossessed, it's not yours anymore and you're out of pocket, but you're not, if you've got like a relative or a place to, you might be able to get a flat and rent a flat.
I know what you mean. It's like, maybe it's like that movie
Juno.
It's like that movie.
I thought you were honestly going to say Juno, because that guy wants, he wants out of the. Jason Bateman's character wants out. He wants to just get an apartment.
No, I was thinking of what is it now with Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio, but not Titanic. Not Titanic though.
Titanic.
That one.
Something Lane.
Yeah, or Row. Desolation Row, is it?
No, that's a Dylan song, I think.
Oh. It's something.
Maybe it is.
It's something like that.
Something Lane. Oh, because it's like a.
It's a street name.
Yeah, but it's like it's like desire or something
or
silly,
redemption,
like or inspirational.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, like they have this wild idea to like move to Paris together. I think about this movie a lot actually, and because they're both unhappy with their current setup, living in this house that they're in. And they have this crazy idea of moving to Paris. Kate Winslet's going to get a job as a typist. Leonardo
DiCaprio's son's
going to write a novel. And they
Leonardo DiCardo is a really funny
Leonardo
name. I wish I had a pen so I could write that down.
I prefer Leonardo DiCaprio's son.
That's great as well. I'm
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio's son.
And yeah, they had this wild idea to move to Paris. It's going to be amazing. And then so many things in their brain just like talk themselves out of it, thinking that it'd be too hard because of this. It's not the right time because of this. And like so many things that it does make you think like how much in someone's life actually is unchangeable. And obviously kids, you've got young children, those kids need to be looked after first and foremost.
Yeah.
But then it's like so many other things, it's like, well, so much of it actually isn't like set in stone, isn't this huge thing that can't be molded or changed. And I know what you mean. I'd struggle because I would be on a very different path to someone who has got like a mortgage and kids and stuff. But I'd still say that, well, we've both got a life and we've only got one. And if you're unhappy with yours and you think that just working to support the family it's going to do them good now, yeah, but then I do think though, like, not that no one will thank you for it, but maybe like how much of that is really like necessary, do you know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah,
is there some kind of not 180 drastic change, obviously, because that's going to really disrupt the family life and things like that. But
well, this again, it's like let's
this
say
hypothetical person as well. Like,
well,
I'm like,
but let's say you're in a situation, like let's say you're this guy that we've created and he wants to go and play golf all the time because that's where he really loves that. And he says that to his partner and there's kids and the partner says, well, no, you can't do that. Like, you cannot quit your job and take a lesser job.
I wouldn't say you should quit his job though.
Oh, well, okay, like reduce your hours or whatever it is. But I mean, realistically,
or even start planting some seeds of possibilities of other options. You
but
know?
Knowing where that would eventually lead to, right? Because that's the whole thing. Like, if this person, the whole crux of the
the whole crux.
The whole thing of that is like eventually this person's going to want to get out of what they're doing so they can pursue a happier 80%. So it's like, okay, well, eventually that's going to be the plan, right?
Yeah.
But then it, you're talking then of being like, well, work 8 hours, 9 hours a day, be there for your kids, cook, feed yourself, and then what time would you realistically exercise, go to the gym? You wouldn't realistically have any time to do a startup.
Well,
it'd be very hard. It'd be very, very hard.
What do you mean a startup? Do you mean starting something of their own?
Yeah, sorry. I mean, like, the idea of being like, well, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna pursue. Let's say it's like maybe I'll go and hang around the golf course and see if I can get some teaching jobs, or I can hang around there and maybe I'll do some low-key tournaments or blah blah blah. It's like, okay, but eventually that will lead to that person wanting to substitute their one life where they've got maybe a really nice pay packet but all the time's gone.
Yeah.
And then the exchange would be, well, now you've got more time but the pay packet is really rubbish and you've got, compared to what you had.
Yeah. Again, that it's all in comparison, isn't it? Like, I saw this thing where it was like, oh, everyone talk about like how much money's enough to live on, and then everyone's putting stuff in, and then someone's like, that question doesn't mean anything because it just totally depends on the person and what their lifestyle looks like.
Yeah.
Like, to say to someone you live on 20,000 a year, that might be them living in absolute poverty, like in small p. You know what I mean? That could be your idea of really going without. But to someone else who might be a bit younger, who's doing something creative, that could be a perfect amount of money for them to live on and grow from and stuff. And
definitely.
But then like they interview people and like, oh, how much do you make? And it's like, oh, I'm a solicitor and I make 120 with commission and stuff a year. So like, do you make enough? And everyone says no matter how much money they've got.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're exchanging this massive pay packet in a job that makes you miserable and is slowly killing you from stress or from like sadness, and then you're switching that out for a reasonable paycheck maybe, where you have got to make a couple of sacrifices in life, or you might have to talk with the family and do things like that, but then now you've either got more time or you're pursuing like you say, like doing something to do with golf, like writing golf, teaching golf, like
Writing golf.
writing about golf, like sports writing,
Oh, right. Okay.
or,
Yeah.
anything like that. Or even if you don't end up doing something to do with your passion, but you just have more time for it, and then the job you have doesn't leave you feeling absolutely flabbergasted.
Well,
It's like, I think I'd rather the second one, like,
I think that's also like one of the problems with like, maybe people they do a job that they don't like, but then they get some decent money for it, and then perhaps, and I've found that I've sometimes fallen into this trap, and I have to like watch myself. It's like you might have a bit more money at the end of that week or at the end of that month, and you say, well, do you want anything? You're like, no, not, I don't, I'm not really into anything, whatever. And then you're walking down the street, and then it's like, oh well, if I'm gonna buy a pair of, maybe I need a new pair of jeans. And it's like, well, do you really? And it's like, no, I don't. But then it's like, well, and then, well, I'm not gonna buy £20 worth of jeans from wherever. I'll go in here and buy the 90,
like a lifestyle
£100.
inflation.
Right, and then you start seeing things that are like, well, maybe I should get a coffee machine, and maybe you get in, and then it's like, oh, I really like my morning coffee, so I'll get a machine.
Yeah.
Well, I won't just get the machine that costs 50 quid. I'll get the one that costs 500 quid because I've got more to mess around with.
Yeah.
And then you do that over the course of a couple of years. Then you come to that place where you say, okay, well, now I want to take a back step because I want to pursue something that's actually meaningful. You say, well, it's going to cost you about 4 or 5 grand to maintain this lifestyle. So then you have to relinquish that.
Yeah.
And then it's like you're kind of trapped because it's like, well, you're gonna have to say goodbye to all these things that you've come to know and appreciate and love.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Maybe though, I don't know, like, maybe if you do look at your life and you think, oh wow, I've actually put a lot of emphasis and importance here on these things that are luxuries, and now the idea of suffering more for more money to get these luxuries seems appealing. Maybe that's a really good, like, whoa, clock yourself moment, before it gets too far. Like, everyone likes nice things, and everyone appreciates going out to eat or getting nice things from a nice shop or going somewhere nice and stuff like that. And it's a super privileged position to be in, to even have any of that, to then compare it to other things. Like, if I was going to go get a coffee somewhere, I'd be like, oh, I'm going to go to a nice coffee shop, like in a cute one. Whereas like someone might be like, no, I'll just go like McDonald's or Greg's where it's like 99p. And I'd be like, no, I'd rather go somewhere because like I don't have a lot of things that I spend a lot of money on, so I'm going to get like a nice coffee because that's, I don't mind paying for that because I've put that in something that I'm like, oh, I don't mind paying for that for somewhere, not to like bring it back to bean coffee. But I'd like to go somewhere nice because it's a nice treat that I get to have.
Yeah.
But then,
and who doesn't like to feel as if that they can't, the idea of being like, I can't buy a cup of coffee because I can't afford it. That would be a really horrible world to live in,
Yeah, well, that's what I mean though. Like, that's why it's super privileged to even have those things, to then like compare them to going without or going somewhere where you're not super keen on the quality and stuff.
Yeah.
So then it's, and yeah, maybe it's just a good little check-in thing where it's like, okay, am I getting a bit too comfy and all nice in my like luxury things when actually I am suffering more for the money?
That's like an old adage thing, isn't it? Where it's like, if you feel too comfortable, then you're not doing the right thing. You're not pushing yourself.
Or you're pushing yourself like to make more money with more suffering.
Yeah.
To get more of the nice things because they give you that instant like dopamine release of getting the thing and being like, yeah.
I must say I feel kind of lucky that like right now where I'm at with the music thing, it's like I'm still working very intensely like musically, but because I've got this outlet for the comedy stuff and the sketch writing, it feels nice to be like, okay, like I'm making like decent money at something which I am good at, and I do enjoy to some degree. But before the comedy thing, it was like, this really sucks. Like, this is just like, this isn't going anywhere, and it's the same repeated pattern, and it's just blah. Whereas now having that outlet, that's like, it's not just a fun outlet, it's a fun outlet that is also creative, but that I'm also feels like I'm building something.
Yeah.
You know, it's not an aimless like thing of like, well, but not there's anything wrong, because like, you know, I also have other
there can be good things
that
that
are
are
aimless,
aimless.
and
Yeah.
and that's totally fine. But you know, so maybe it's just that thing, like from my perspective, it's like I have a job that brings me money, that I'm good at, that I'm skilled at,
Yeah.
and that I do
And
enjoy.
it's like, at the end of the day as well, it's money that you're making for yourself.
Yeah, and it's money
It's
that
on
I'm making
your
for myself. Yeah,
schedule. It's,
yeah,
you know, for the majority anyway. Obviously, I know you've got to turn up to the gig when they want you, but it's still like, it's not like if you don't go, you're like fired or things like that. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. And but you know, there might be people out there that like who really really love, you know, developing IT software, and it's
oh
like, well,
yeah,
you need to work for a company that needs to. You might be a really good coder,
yeah,
but it's more likely that you'll get a job for a company than you will.
yeah,
So that's fine, because then it's like you find something that it's like, well, I'm good. I'm good at that.
yeah,
I can do it. I'm skilled. Pays my wage. I'm happy with that.
yeah,
But then I would say it's definitely useful to have something that you're building that's your own.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
feel as if there's something primal about it. There's something primitive about the idea of being like, we're creatures that since as old as time we've built, you know, we've as Neanderthals we would build homes, and we'd build families, and we would build a community, then we would
Yeah.
build
Expand.
yeah, we'd and build things around skill sets, like if you were a shoemaker or a tailor or
Yeah.
a smith or whatever. It's that thing of like, or you know, you can cook and you can feed communities and feed your family or whatever. Having that thing which is like, it's something that I've built and I provide and it's mine.
Yeah.
I think that's really important to have
Yeah.
alongside the thing that you're
I
doing.
defo agree.
You know,
Going back to like the golf guy as well, you know, he might, this job that he might have in like this corporate setting that he's kind of like suffering and anguishing through to like afford his paycheck and everything. If he like, it's that thing of like, if you might, it's like, it is such a trap, isn't it? Because then if he was like, yeah, I quit, he can't go and like do the thing that he did for the company just on his own. Do you know what I mean? If it's just like a corporate data entry or something,
yeah.
you'd have to go and like find another company. And I always think about this as well, you know, from The Office, when Michael Scott starts his own paper company.
Yeah.
It's one of like
great,
the
isn't it?
it's just one of his best moments, I think, because it's this moment where you're like, he's a genius.
Yeah.
Because like when he's in the room with his boss, what's his name?
David
Wallace. And he's like there and stuff, and then, you know, they're going like, we've seen your numbers, like you're not going to be here for long, you know, you're not doing well, like why should we give you all jobs? This is $1 million investment rather than just a, you know, 40k or whatever it was buyout that he was going to give them for his company. And then he's like, because I will always start another paper company. I've got plenty of names like Michael Paper. And then he's like, I'll always start another one. And like, I love that scene so much because it's such a good point. Like, if I wasn't doing this, and you said it the other week as well, like you'd go and do like a paint and decorating company or something because it'd still be like yours.
Oh, when we were in,
mean?
yeah, it was that idea of being like, I just,
You
yeah,
always find something, and having that skill set of finding something to create employment for yourself. Like, I'd just go and start another paper company, you know.
that just that because and I think, and that's something I've noticed that's really important about me. But I do think it is, I do think it's a universal thing. Even though some people fall more nicely into the sort of, well, I came out of uni and I got a job, and it's like, well, I'm doing the job and it's good for me and the routine is good and the structure's good. I totally, you know, that makes sense, and that's fine and that's great. But there is something that's just like the thing of, it's like, no, but it's for you. There's something that you build, and there's something that it's like a synthesis of, like, in your mind you've gone to the effort of being like, what do I really like doing? What could I put this effort into right now? Because what else am I putting effort into? And taking a risk and taking a chance and being like, well, I'm gonna sit down and I do my job and I do that thing and that's fine. But then I'm also putting in
what's cooking.
And I'm doing it for the right reasons, you know, and it's important to me. I feel as if those things are going to sustain you and lead to more fulfillment. And I guess you can do that at any stage. Like if you are in a really demanding job, you can still have that thing which is like you're building something for yourself. And if anything, if you are working a very demanding job, that might fuel you even more into doing the thing that you want to do and have. And then I, because then I as well, I think then that you enjoyed the aimless, not the aimless stuff, the stuff that you're not, that is just a hobby.
Yeah.
I feel like you will, if you're a person like,
you enjoy that then for like the right reasons. It's not suddenly this big escape that you put this huge emphasis on to like take you away from what you're doing.
Or it changes, or it's like the idea of like a nice thing happened the other day where I like playing chess. And it's usually always online chess because, you know, it's online chess is way more accessible than, you know, it's 9:00 at night. I've got to find a group of people who are gathering somewhere. And there were people playing at a coffee shop that I was in. And
you
then
definitely go meet up with them again.
I'd like to,
the other one on Lark Lane as well.
There's one happening tomorrow, but I'm gigging, which is, but you know, it's fine. It's at Lark Lane, Bookbinder. There's a chess club on if anyone fancies. No one will know because this will go out on Wednesday. But that's on every Tuesday. But yeah, and that was great because then it changed. It was like, it wasn't about me sitting there playing chess, even though I was like, great, I get to play chess. It was like, I get to sit and socialize and talk and be like, let's talk about what, you know, let's meet new people. And then the chess was secondary to that. The chess was just like, I don't care if I win or lose. It's nice to just have that.
Nice.
So that was nice because there might be a lot of things like that where it's like you might think like, oh, you know, I really like video games or whatever, but then like you might end up putting less emphasis on it to the point where you're playing video games with your kids or with your partner or with a friend, or you're playing social video games like, I don't, you know, like COD or whatever, where it's like you're just playing it so you can hang out with your mates, and it's the game is secondary to that. I don't know, it's I think my point is, it's just like, it's always dangerous to put something that gives you that much of a dopamine release on a pedestal, you know, be it a video game,
and use it as a crutch, and
or use it as some sort of like reward or anchor.
I get to do this now, and like if I didn't get to do that, like that would really pee me off.
Yeah,
you know
it's like, oh, like, you know, I wouldn't dream of coming back from work and not having a beer because I've earned it. And it's like, okay, that's, you know, that's not good, or, you know. But
anyway,
but it's like, I feel like those things that they're like knock-on effects. They're like things that you have to start before it starts, way before the actual, like, you know, the job begins, or the you setting the alarm clock to get up in the morning for the job begins. It's loads of little things that I think you don't realize register to the brain. Like, I don't know, like we've been meditating more recently, more like in the morning. It's the first thing. We went through a phase of doing it all the time.
Yeah, we did.
And then we stopped.
We used to do it in bed, which I think maybe wasn't the best thing because we were still kind of sleepy, whereas now we get up, we have a potter, and then we come in here and we sit down and do it in like the light, and you know, I've really been enjoying it.
I've really been enjoying it too, and it's been nice to sort of have that as like a, you know, an affirmation thing for the day.
Definitely.
And to be like, well, you know, you sort of, that thing of setting your intention for the day and talking to yourself in a way, and breathing, and like, you know, making that first part of your day very calm, but precise in what it is that you're going to do.
Definitely.
Little things like that can be huge, because then it feels like the rest of the day it's like, well, I've got a direction, or I've got a thing that I need to work on.
a lot throughout the day.
Yeah. But those are loads of things that we've talked about in previous podcasts. You know, those are things that we've gone over. Like we've got podcasts on meditation, and we've got podcasts on, you know, like nutrition and stuff. All these little things that seem insignificant, but they're all building blocks.
And on about, like, you know, what working for yourself and the pros and the cons and the all things like that as well. You know, go back and listen to the catalogue. Yeah,
there's a lot. It's, you know, they're resources at the end of the day, hopefully, that people can use. And but, you know, I do get it, and it's something that, you know, we should try and be more aware of that thing of, you know, it's all well and good sort of being, and this isn't me having a go at us or the podcast.
No,
it's all well and good sort of having that because we're so lucky, because
Yeah.
you know
No,
we
yeah,
are.
we are, but also like this is the path that we've set out kind of for ourselves and kind of with no help. Maybe.
Yeah, well, we also, but some you could again, you could make the argument that like there's people. Let's say we'd have been born and we'd have had people that gave us a deposit for a house,
Yeah.
and they got us into a corporate job.
Yeah.
You know, if some, I wouldn't
Would
consider
would
that
we be
lucky.
better off?
I
Yeah,
wouldn't
no,
consider
that's so
that
true.
lucky now, but
No, I just mean like lucky in terms of what the things that we talk about aren't necessarily all things that we haven't like.
oh god, I nearly got cramped.
You all right? Aren't things that we've just sort of fallen into through other people. It's kind of the way that we've set up our life together, and it's the only thing that we know, and the only thing that we can sort of vouch for is our own experience, which is valuable. And even if it might not be totally relatable to people, I do think it's like good and refreshing to hear it and be like, oh, like, I didn't need these X, Y, Z things in place because these guys didn't have it. Do you know what I mean? Like things like that.
No, yeah, no, it's totally, and I agree to that. I think maybe it's just a thing of trying to, for me anyway, it's like just even having that conversation the other day with our mate. It was like, yeah, like they were making good points, and I was like, yeah, no,
good points, yeah.
You're right. Like I can't just sit there and say, no, shut up, quit your job.
Yeah,
do what I would do.
I don't think
because
either of us would like. I don't think we could come across like that, because I don't think that's what either of us would say. If it was the wrong advice, we'd never say that.
I
and
know.
It's like, oh, you got kids to feed. It's like, oh, they can sort themselves out. Challenge is the best form of growth.
Survival of the fittest, mate. Yeah, no, I know, but it's nice to sometimes have that voice that's like, well, no, that's a good point. Like, that for a lot of people, this will not be. Probably maybe for the majority of people, it's like that might not be an easy, like oh well, you've come out of uni and you're young and you've got youth and fire and pizzazz, and you can go and do all those things if you want. Like go and dream, go and do that thing.
Yeah.
It's like no, it's actually like, no, I've got like a mortgage and two kids and a divorce.
Well, that's their choice. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yeah.
I joke.
She jokes.
I joke.
She jokes.
But
I can feel that you're itching to get on your video game.
No, not at all.
You're literally
I'm
tweaking.
I'm a little bit giddy. But no, yeah, I've really enjoyed this poddy, and I really like that we got to speak about this in person as well a little bit last night. And if you are listening, the person who we were talking to, we hope in some way it was somewhat.
I certainly hope you're listening.
It doesn't work.
It does.
How?
Do you know the person's? I'm not going to say it, but
I know their first name, and it's
would
not,
you know?
It's not Hope.
Right. So if it's not their first name, anyway. Yeah.
We hope it's been somewhat. Not even if it's not been like helpful in a way. We hope it's been like enjoyable to listen to and to have a chat with us. And we're always here anytime anyone wants to message us with any advice or issues or something they're not sure about. We hope that that's been made apparent just with this series, that we're an open book and people can always get in touch with us.
I'd like to do just as a total joke, but I think would be just for the sake of it, because sometimes we get like, our last video, the one before last, it got like over 500 views, which for us is pretty solid.
Video?
Yeah, it's
wow.
Pretty solid, pretty good for us.
Yeah.
And I think our last one is like 150, but they're doing, some of them they do okay. So I'm gonna we've been talking for a while now about we'd love to get like a third microphone. We might have another camera that we can use, but we'd like another one of these so that we could actually get a third person on the channel page podcast, because this would have been great if we could have had the person here and we could have actually talked with them and had their ideas.
No, absolutely. That is something we're working towards.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a link that's like a wish list. And
Amazon storefront.
Yeah, because I've noticed that, like, you know, we get a lot of comments and, you know.
Most of them aren't helpful.
They're a bit funky, to say the least, you know. But every now and then we do get, every now and then we get a very nice comment. But I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to be like, in the description of this and only this video.
Yeah.
I won't put it in anymore. There'll be a link or a wish list or a something to behind one of these microphones. And yeah, let's just see what happens.
You never know.
You never know. There might be some guy out there that's like giving us a load of hate for some reason, but then actually he's a sweetheart who wants to help support the channel.
Or an investor.
Investors.
One
time, just as a closing story, because we've still got a minute.
Okay.
Just as a closing thing, we were at the gym and Meg was walking right next to me, and I turned my head around like that, and
we told this story on the poddy. I think we told it when it happened.
Oh, okay. Well then, good night.
Boom. Me and Mike were just in case you didn't know. Me and Mike were in the gym. We were entering the gym together, and
no, we were about to leave the gym together.
Oh, we were about to leave the gym. Are you sure?
Yeah, it was on the way out.
Oh yeah, and Mike went to go fill up his water bottle, and he thought that I was right behind him, but I'd already proceeded to the exit.
Meg had taken like a sharp left bit, but the last time I turned around to see her, we were talking and she was right on my side. But then I turned around. I turned around to see Meg still near me, and we saw a load of people coming into the gym, suits, ties, lanyards.
Yeah.
And then
official.
And then I turned back around to face the water machine where I was walking to. But back around. And then I turned back around as I was approaching the water cooler, and I went in an American accent. I went, investors. And what happened was Megan had taken a sharp left, and another woman had taken virtually her place. So I literally looked this woman in the eye who was about Megan's height, and I literally looked this woman in the eye who's never seen me or anything, and I just went, investors. And she literally like sort of like just went like this. And I just sort of like spat my drink out, and I was like, oh shit, sorry, I thought you were my fiance who was. And as I was explaining this, I was like, shit, I thought you were my fiance who was. She literally just walked past me as if to be like, I don't care, just get out of my way.
And I was like in the pod.
And Meg was in one of these pods just like looking at me as if to be like, why are you over there talking to this woman?
Oh god, that is so funny. Just the way you said
investors. And seeing this just being like, oh, like, you're not.
Oh, I'm glad you told that story again, because it does really make me. It gives me a like stitchy laugh.
It's a funny one. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next week.
We'll bid you good night, and we hope you've enjoyed the episode.
Hey, remember to buy us that microphone so we can get more people on.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be awesome. Good night, guys. Bye.
Have a good rest of your day.
Boom, boom, boom.